media days underway in Atlanta could tie or even break its own record for the most players drafted in the first round. So we are going to give you a mock draft Monday. 283 days now until the NFL draft. Yes, that's a long time away, but we're going to give it to you. Last year, a record-breaking 15 players were taken out of the SEC in the first round. This year could tie or even surpass that. Also, Clemson, a big shower in this year's mock draft. I guess this round of the mock draft. Let's welcome in Ryan Wilson, Mike Renner with Monday for you. 283 days away from the NFL draft. But why not? Hey, we're in July. We got to talk about something. We're picking it up with the Cowboys at 15. And here we find the first running back off the board. Last year, Mike, I'm going to give this one to you as our Notre Dame guy. It was all about Ashton Jeanty. Really didn't focus on anyone else. But now we have Jeremiah Love. And I'm even seeing articles about potential Heisman finalists for this kid.
Yeah, I think it's very well within the realm of possibility because when you watch his tape, he's the most dynamic athlete in college football. His speed is out of this world. He had a 98-yarder in the playoff against Indiana. And on a bum knee for most of that playoff was still a major factor in a lot of games, the Penn State game as well. So that's him as a 19-year-old sophomore. I'm very excited to see what this guy does when he has some more time in the weight room because he is still a little bit on the skinnier side. He fills out his frame and really adds some more power to his game. He could go even higher than this. I mean, he could go in the Ashton Jeanty range of running backs. That's how good he is already. All
right, keep an eye on Jeremiah Love there out of Notre Dame. Let's go to the Cardinals at 16. Our second wide receiver off the board, Washington's Denzel Boston, started every single game last season. And if it matters, because to some people it does, Mike, he has a very good video game rating. I read.
Ooh.
Don't play the video games. So, congrats to him.
I can see why. He's got a big-time catch radius, massive frame. He's a long type of possession wide receiver. Breakout year as a junior, 834 yards, 9 touchdowns. But I got to say this, my first big disagreement with Ryan, if I was Arizona here, I'm going just down the road to Arizona State, and I'll pick a Jordan Tyson. To me, he is the best wide receiver in this draft class at this point in time. Denzel Boston, a good prospect. Jordan Tyson just a little bit better.
We'll go to the Bears at 17 here. How about this headline? Florida man goes to Chicago. Alligators do not follow, though. Linebacker Tyreek Sapp led the team with 7 sacks, 13 tackles for loss. Ryan, what else do we need to know about him?
You should write headlines, Amanda. That was a good one. And
look, like your Monday morning headlines.
Mike's not wrong about Jordan Tyson. Yeah, Mike's not wrong about Jordan Tyson. These guys are going to be fun to watch, and certainly I'm glad he got a shout out here. Tyreek Sapp, meanwhile, is great against the run. Might be one of the best run defenders at the S position in this draft class as we currently sit here. Another sawed-off bowling ball, 6'2", 272. He will win with his bull rush. He needs to diversify his pass rush moves. There's time to sort that out. But I think the physicality and athleticism he plays with makes him a first-round conversation player right now as we sit here.
We pick it up with the Broncos at 18. By the way, you can find Ryan's mock draft on CBSSports.com. And Ryan, look, normally you have like the huge paragraphs, and I think you got tired here with this pick because you had one sentence. High motor, high-end athlete who excels versus the run, the pass, and as a pass rusher. Linebacker C.J. Allen. All good things, but I think you needed a cup of coffee then. So, Mike, give us a little more about him.
Yeah, I mean, he can really fly sideline to sideline. When I watched his tape and you put him at the second level, and when Jalen Walker, 15th overall pick in this past draft of the Falcons, was off ball as well, just like identical body types. They have the same sort of broad shoulders, squatty body that can really come downhill and send an offensive lineman backwards. And so that's what you saw from him. And for a Denver Broncos team that loves to use those second level guys as blitzers, he can get home in a hurry and he can be a value add to their run defense. So for the Broncos, a talent like him makes a lot of sense next to Dre Greenlaw.
We mentioned a lot of SEC players in this draft. We'll continue with the Texans at 19. South Carolina DB Jalen Kilgore, second team all SEC, long arms, long legs, good speed. Ryan, how helpful could he be to the Texans team?
I'm shaking my head because it feels like they just produced these guys in South Carolina. Nick Emanwari, someone who we talked a lot about last year, second-round pick to the Seattle Seahawks. And I think Jason Kilgore has a chance to be just as good. He's not going to – I don't imagine he's going to test as highly as Nick Emanwari did. Maybe I'm wrong, but you touched on all the things he does well. He's surprisingly good in coverage. He can play in the slot as a big slot, but he moves like a smaller player. And then he will absolutely destroy you coming downhill in the run game. And you might say the Houston Texans have plenty of needs in the secondary. You can never have enough guys like this. And I think if he plays the way I expect him to play based on what we saw in 2024, we're going to have some first-round conversations about just how high Kilgore ends up going.
Texans at 19, Vikings at 20. I'm worried about Clemson next season. I'll just tell you that because we have another Clemson guy going off the board. Cornerback Avion Terrell, his brother AJ Terrell plays for the Falcons. Same position there. Mike, how does he compare to his brother?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I like looking at, brothers and how they play. You have like the Bosa brothers who are darn near identical. You have James Cook and Dalvin Cook who are darn near identical. But this to me is more like a TJ Watt, JJ Watt thing, where JJ is this massive sort of interior defensive lineman. That's like AJ Terrell. He's this long corner who really gets it done in the line of scrimmage. Avion's the shorter, shiftier TJ Watt who can really match up athlete versus athlete against opposing wide receivers. And oh, by the way, he also is a guy who will come up and fill in the running game. So while he plays on the outside at Clemson, I think he could even be a slot corner at the next level as well. And just you see already the innate physical gifts on tape that make you feel good about projecting this guy in the first round.
And plus, look, he knows he gets all the lessons early from his brother already there in the league. Guys, hang on. We've made it through a good chunk of this already through 20. Jeremiah Love, the first running back off the board. Mike said keep an eye on him out of Notre Dame. Could potentially go much higher than this. And then the brother of AJ Terrell, Avion Terrell, to the Vikings at 20. So the Rams have 2 first-round picks. Could they be looking for their future and replacing Matt Stafford? Ryan says yes. We'll tell you which quarterback he has them taking after the break. HQ Spotlight here on a Monday, Mock Draft 1.0. You can find Ryan's at cbssports.com. If you've missed it, we're at the Bucs at 21. And Ryan, I gave you a little flack earlier from one of your descriptions. I said you got a little tired. You got your cup of coffee here. Oregon tight end Kenyon Sadiq, the longest description of any player that I saw. He's a tight end, but also a special team standout. So what all can this guy do?
Thank you for your positive reinforcement there. Yeah, you don't often lead with a special team standout when you're evaluating guys in the summer, but they lined him up at quarterback 4 different times in extra point situations. But he is an insane athlete, and I'll give Mike credit. Last summer, he was high on Terrence Ferguson before anyone else was. I think Sadiq is a better athlete than Terrence Ferguson, and I think he has a chance to be a better player as he continues to grow. And Ferguson's going to probably pretty explosive early on for the Rams. So I loved his tape last fall when he was tight end 2. He'll get an opportunity to be tight end 1 this season and perhaps grow what we saw from a year ago. But there's a lot to love, both physically and in terms of playmaking ability from Kenyon after what we saw in 2024.
Go check it out. It was literally like, well, I don't think I can do that on TV. 49ers at 22, Tennessee DB, Jermod McCoy, first team all SEC. Ryan said in his article that he might be the best cornerback in the class versus go routes. Mike, do you agree?
I do. To me, when I flipped on his tape and compared to the rest of the corners in this draft class, I thought he was the best athlete. I mean, just smooth in and out of his breaks, and then the speed to make up down the football field. He's got a great body type for the position, too. You see their really long arms, 4 picks, 6 pass breakups a year ago. Inconsistent at this point, but he's gone from Oregon State to Tennessee to start his career now. I think another year in this Tennessee defense, I think he could get and play his way into like top 10 sort of selection. That's the kind of athlete he is.
We go to the Chargers at 23. Apparently, I'll be cheering for the Chargers. Sooner Nation represent Oklahoma D lineman R. Mason Thomas. I'm going to tell you nothing about football. Everybody's going to want to know. R. Mason Thomas. Is that his name? It's the real name. It's the first initial. His mom said there's a lot of R names on her side, but she didn't want to name him with an R name, so she just went with R. R. Mason. Ryan, you can fill out the rest.
From R. Mason to R. Wilson. That'll start calling me that, please. He's only listed at 240. It feels like the Sooners have the market cornered on quote-unquote undersized edge rushers who are absolutely electric. He reminds me a little bit, by the way, of Nick Bonito in that sense. I mentioned in the write-up that I thought he was better against the run than Donovan Ezeraku and maybe a little bit more electric as a pass rusher. He flashed every time you turned on Oklahoma tape, no matter who you were IDing in the moment. So I give Mr. R a lot of credit for the way he played last year, and I think he's going to continue along that trend. And then the question becomes, should he be a first-round pick at that size? If he has 10 pounds, we won't have to have that conversation. Ezeraku was a second-round pick. Nick Bonito was a second-round pick. Maybe in hindsight, Nick could have gone a little higher, but a lot of fun to watch last fall.
Bengals at 24. And it's just R. Mason, not R. period, he said. our Space Mason. Okay, either way, Bengals at 24, another Oregon player here, transfer from Nevada, offensive lineman Isaiah World. Ryan said in his article he might play with the best balance of any offensive tackle in recent memory. Mike, what do you like about this guy?
Yeah, I love what he can do in pass protection, and he has a great opportunity here now transferring after 3 years at Nevada, 3 years as a starter to Oregon, that jump up in competition level to really prove himself, because not a lot of people beat this guy in pass pro last year. He went from 34 pressures allowed in 2023 to only 15 this past season. That year-on-year improvement, if it keeps going with his physical tools at 6'8", 309, this guy's going to be a first-round pick.
Ryan, you're very nice in all your descriptions here. We're going to go to the Packers at 25. We're getting a lot of the best, right? He might be the best at this. He might be the best at this. So we have Penn State. A.J. Harris might be the best cornerback tackler in this class. What makes him so dangerous?
Yeah, I mean, he's a rapid tackler. I think I described him as a no-yak tackling machine, no yards after the catch. So if you make a reception, he's going to bring you down to that point. He's not going to get drugged 5 to 10 yards down the field by a bigger wide receiver or tight end. And my comp for him was Nate Wiggins, in part because of the size, 6'1", 184, but his mentality. And we see it feels like a lot of these cornerbacks coming out of college play with this chip on their shoulder that maybe we didn't see as consistently in years past. He reminds me a lot of Nate Wiggins in that sense. Physically, he reminds me of Nate Wiggins, and I think he's going to test well athletically. But as you mentioned, I also like his ability to come downhill and play the run, which is something you don't always see from cornerbacks coming out of college.
We go to the Commanders at 26. I loved reading about this guy, wide receiver out of LSU, Aaron Anderson. He's undersized. He was voted as LSU's most improved offensive player last season. Mike, how did he improve last season, and what more could we see?
He improved by just getting the playing time, giving the opportunity, and having not 2 first-round picks in front of him, and Malik Chambers and Brian Thomas Jr. Right, so that helped, and having Garrett Nussmeier throw him the football, but also just this guy is electric. He's got an uphill climb to be a first-rounder. When you're 5'8" at the wide receiver position, usually those guys tend to get passed over. Reminds me a lot of a Rondale Moore, and he goes to an offense with Cliff Kingsbury, who he drafted Rondale Moore out there in Arizona, so it would make a lot of sense. 874 yards. 20 broken tackles after the catch. There's a lot of guys kind of in this mold, undersized, shifty, dynamic playmakers. To me, he's the best one, though, in this class.
We go to the Rams at 27. Things get interesting here. Their second pick at the first round, potentially a replacement for Matt Stafford, Clemson quarterback Cade Klubnik, the 5th player going from Clemson. Ryan, it's interesting. I was listening to the pod. You and Rand sort of disagree on him. Rand Carthon said he wanted to see how tough he was. Maybe he wasn't tough enough. It's a very interesting listen. Give us your take on Cade Klubnik, not just for the Rams, but kind of how he stacks up in this quarterback class.
Yeah, 5-star coming out, arriving in Clemson, and I thought he had the reverse Garrett Nussmeier season a year ago. He started off slow, but then the more you watch him, the better he got. He's a fantastic touch on the deep balls. He can layer the ball to the second level. He will sometimes misfire on these intermediate throws, but I think a lot of young quarterbacks, that is not uncommon with them. And I think he's plenty tough. I think the bigger issue, though, Amanda and Mike, is that how big is he? Is he going to be 6'2", or is he going to be 6'0" and change? Because that's going to be a decisive factor in how high he gets drafted. I think if he can build on the second half of last season, he's going to be in this first-round conversation. My comp for him, and Mike, I would like to hear his thoughts, is Bo Nix, because Mike's a big Bo Nix guy in terms of the toughness and the smartness with which he plays, but I need to see a little bit more consistency like we saw in the second half of the season, not in the first half.
Yeah, I think he has similar sort of tools to a Bo Nix. And also, he has the similar sort of storyline. Now, he didn't have to transfer, but I love these quarterbacks who start earlier in their careers at these blue blood top programs and take their lumps. He was not a fan favorite early on. He did not. He came in as a highly touted recruit and did not live up to the hype. But now he is. Junior year had this breakout season, and that just shows the competitor he is. That shows the toughness he has. And if he builds on what he did last year, I think this is even too low. I mean, it's a great quarterback class incoming, and he could be right up there in the mix for quarterback one.
Since Ryan had Fernando Mendoza going so much higher, Mike, do you disagree with that?
No, not at this moment in time. I think Mendoza, you've already seen him in a really bad situation play at a high level, and I think he has a little bit more prototypical size arm strength, but there are a lot of names to choose from about who's going to be the breakout guy this year. And I think all of them, all the guys we've touched on already, could play their way into like top 10 selection. This could be the quarterback class we just saw a couple years ago that had 6 guys go in the top 15.
I love it because it makes me so excited for this football season. Taking a look at our last amount of picks, 283 days to the draft, but college football is just around the corner, guys. Isaiah World, keep an eye on him, and Cade Klubnik, a lot to discuss about what he could potentially look like this upcoming season at Clemson. How high could he go right now? Ryan has him going to the Rams at 27. So we're talking